Okay guys, first I want to start by showing you the build I use the most in PvP when I go solo into the Dark Zone. We'll start by showing you the Barrage Chest Beast, which unfortunately got a little low armor roll, but the other stats are pretty okay. The protection from elites could be health instead, ammo capacity is always good, and then with too much stamina and armor. Next up I use the Refreshed Mask. I use this in my build instead of, let's say, the Savage Gloves, because I always go for the critical save in the last health segment, and when I do that, this mask almost gives me full health when I use a medkit. The major attribute is health, and minor is of course enemy armor damage. Again, stamina and armor mod. Next up is the AlphaBridge knee pads, which unfortunately also got a pretty low base armor roll. You can see 2644 just compared to the short bow knee pads, which is 2741. Beside that, it's got some decent rolls with an okay stamina roll, disrupt resistance, enemy armor damage and bleed resistance, and then again stamina and armor, and my performance mod first aid self heal. Next up is my AlphaBridge backpack, which again got a pretty low base armor roll compared to, let's say, the Banshee, which got almost 200 more armor base. It got a high firearm roll, a high major attribute armor roll, and ammo capacity again. And for this one, stamina and armor, and 2 performance mod with self heal. My AlphaBridge gloves, which are an okay base armor roll, low stamina main roll, and low assault rifle damage roll, critical hit damage and critical hit chance. And last up is my AlphaBridge holster, which has pretty good firearm and stamina roll, also a major attribute roll, but again it's on the low side of armor, could be a bit higher compared to my Banshee holster. For my main bowman, I'm using the assault rifle, lightweight M4. When that rolled brutal, got vicious and destructive. I think you all know it from the vendor. Bought there. The 3 talents on the FAMAS is deadly, to complement the vicious talent, unforgiving and uncomplicated. And on this I'm using magazine size critical hit damage and rate of fire. And I'm rolling for headshot damage on the uptick and the muzzle, and critical hit damage on the barrel. The FAMAS is the one we could buy I think the second week from the vendor of 1.5. I just rolled deadly instead of destructive on the top. And for my last weapon, I'm using a double barrel sort of shotgun, gear score level 182. That allows me to get adapt in the top slot, only required 2015 electronics, determined in the second slot with only 2519 electronics, and then competent in the last spot. The reason I'm using this weapon is every time before you go into a match, you can use a skill, switch to your main weapon, and you still got the competent and adapt active. So right now I got 429 k DPS. Of course that is 5% Barrett's increase as well. But if you manage to finish a dude off in a PvP fight, you can get the determined active as well, which allows you to get your skill cooldown 7.5%. And now to see the character sheet for the main weapon M4. It's got a critical hit chance of 21, critical hit damage of 82, and a headshot damage of 123. If we go to the enemy armor damage, we can see 57%. And go down to the toughness, this is 52.55%. This could be higher, but it's mainly because of the Barrett's low armor roll and the backpad's low armor roll. For my second solo build, I'm still using the Barrett's chest piece, but instead of the refresh mask I'm using an AlphaBridge mask, and instead of the AlphaBridge knee pads I'm using the named short bow knee pads. Short bow's talent is the fuse time on grenades is reduced to 0.20 seconds. This means that your active grenade fuse is a lot shorter. With that short of a timer, people can't even get out of the reach of the grenade before it explodes. You see, I can't even jump out myself. There is some trade-offs between the two different AlphaBridge builds. In this build I currently got on, I got the short bow knee patch, which allows me to throw nades without people even noticing them. But because of the RNG in the game, I didn't get enemy armor damage on the minor attribute, and therefore my enemy armor damage is only 46% on this build, compared to my other build where it is 57%. That means my damage is lower versus players. So the two AlphaBridge builds leave you with two different playstyles when you go in solo. Do you want to be the aggressor and throw out nades, or do you want to shock and fire and run away? Or do you want to do a lot of damage while you still keep yourself alive with a little higher toughness? For my group PvP build, I'm instead of using the Barrett chest piece, I'm using a Vigorous chest piece. The Vigorous grants you overheal to all healing skills. It got a good roll of armor and ammo capacity. The damage to elites could again be health, just like the Barretts. Then instead of the AlphaBridge gloves, I'm using Savage gloves. Critical hit chance is increased by 7% against targets out of cover. These gloves got decent armor roll and base firearm roll. And the major attributes are assault rifle, critical hit chance and critical hit damage. So in this build I'm going for a lot more DPS and less toughness, because I'm usually running with a healer that is spec'd into healing, so his heal almost grants me full overheal every time he heals me. That's why I can allow myself to be a little more squishy while handing out a lot more DPS. In this build I'm going a bit more for critical hit chance and damage, while still keeping the headshot damage. My critical hit chance is, with the Savage Glove, 32%. My enemy armor damage is in this build again 57%. My toughness could again be a bit higher. Some of the base armor rolls are a bit low, but this is again one of the highest armor builds I got. I'm still using the same weapons, the M4, the FAMAS and the double barrel shotgun. And now for my last build, the high-end build. This build can both be used in solo and group PvP. We start up with the Barrett's Bulletproof chest again, with the stamina and armor mods. Then the refreshed mask with the stamina and armor mods. The shortbow knee pads with the stamina, armor mods and first aid self-heal. The specialized backpack. Specialized talent adds 200% of firearms and stamina to skill power. That's why right now with the Barrett's chest piece with no skills on cooldown and this backpack I almost got 120k skill power. This backpack has armor and burn resistance. I would like to swap out burn resistance for ammo capacity, but I had to roll the main stat stamina on this one. Again I have stamina and armor and first aid self-heal. For the gloves, I use Skull MC gloves. Skull MC gloves damage increased by 16% when no gear set bonus are active. The gloves have a low base armor roll and a low stamina roll, but in the high-end build 16% increase in damage is pretty good. They have assault rifle, critical hit chance and critical hit damage. For the last item I'm using right now a sturdy holster. Sturdy is increased armor by 15% when staying more than 4 seconds in the same cover. This holster is mainly used for PvE reasons, because you don't stay more than 4 seconds in the same cover in Dark Zone. So right now I'm only using the holster because of the main stats. I'm using the same lightweight M4, but I'm trying out an MP5 ST. That's the good thing about this build compared to AlphaBridge, that you can have different weapons. The MP5 has responsive, brutal and destructive. On this weapon I'm mainly focusing on critical hit chance and damage, but the large uptick is at the moment headshot damage. Again I'm using the double barrel sort of shotgun as a sidearm. just switch to that before you start the fight, throw a skill down, and back to your main weapon. You will then have both Adept and Competent. And if you then manage to finish him off by hitting him or shooting him with the sidearm, you will get your skill cooldown by 7.5%. On this build, because I am using the short bow knee pads, I don't have that high of enemy armor damage. My critical hit chance is still pretty high, headshot damage is high. My enemy armor damage is only 46%, that could again be 57 or higher if I got the knee pad rolled. My armor is only 52.56 in this build. That's because of the Barrett's chest piece and the Skull Gloves MC being that low base armor. So that's it for my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave a like and a comment and subscribe for future The Division content.